Okay, guys, nice to have the team from Vitreous here in the hot seat with us today. I've been following this project for a while. Team's very professional over there in what they do. They're currently building an AI integrated blockchain, or what you could call a smart chain, I guess, in this concept, looking to bridge the gap between DeFi and the financial sector in the real world, geared towards the changes and regulations and legislations that are inevitably going to be coming up in the future. Their seed round is currently live. It's going to remain open until March 24th or until they reach their $3 million hard cap. They've currently raised, I believe, in the opening week, roughly $400,000 already. So they're well on their way to hitting their $1.5 million soft cap. They have a unique NFT concept built into the seed round as well, with sort of a voucher system, but we'll touch on that a little bit more during the presentation. Team is fully doxed and KYC as well, as you can see on the website. And on that note, I will pass the mic on over to the team here to introduce themselves.
Yeah, sure. I'll take this. I'm Chad Justice. I'm the CEO and founder of this company. I'm joined here today with Brenton, who is my co-founder in the business, and he serves as our COO. We've got Jaren, who is our director of PR. She's our face and our front person and our manager of all of our various communities. We've got Baron on board, who is our chief marketing officer, and he is in charge of handling and managing a lot of the front end Figma related items that you see out on the internet. And then we've got Taylor, who is our director of product design. He is what we refer to internally as our mastermind. And he takes all of our high level ideas and our concepts, and he translates those over into a clear and sophisticated way of presentation through a lot of what you've read on the site and in the white papers, and so on and so forth. So we're joined here also with Tim, who is our chief technology officer, and he is the brainchild behind making sure everything all fits together, and we've got a strong go-to-market strategy as soon as everything is up and running and built. So we've got our entire core team here today. Tim and myself are going to be doing a lot of the speaking today, and then hopefully we get to interact with many of you in the Q&A session here at the end. I want to take all of that complex, overloaded set of information in that white paper and hopefully consolidate that into a simple, easy to understand format today. A lot of the feedback over the past number of weeks has been, man, that's just a ton of information. What are some of these ideas that I can take from here and apply that to just understanding the project and company itself? So that's my goal today, is really to just go through everything in layman's terms and present this in as simple of a format as I possibly can. I want to share a backstory of myself and my career, because that'll lay context to a lot of why we're doing what we're doing. Buck, you gave a nice brief intro on VITREUS. I want to take that a little bit further and give
Definitely,
a little bit deeper of an intro to VITREUS. But then I want to look at this from the standpoint of our customer and why they would use what we're building. And our customer is essentially my company. Collaborativewealth.com is a company I founded 17 years ago. We are a comprehensive wealth management firm that serves clients across 42 of the states in the US. We have multiple offices spread around the state of Florida. And at one point before the pullback, we were nearly $1 billion under management. So we assembled a nice size investment firm over the last 17 years that built up a lot of internal challenges that our technology is going to solve. So Collaborative Wealth serves a comprehensive nature of wealth management. We do financial planning, we do investment management, We do insurance work and risk management. We do retirement planning, and we do estate and trust work as well. So we cover the full spectrum of wealth management for over 1,000 different households spread all over the country. So that is the background that I've got as my primary career is the financial services industry. That's what I know. So that's where VITREUS was born, was bringing a digital solution to my business that solves a lot of the problems that we're encountering today, especially the compliance and regulatory issues. It's getting worse and worse. The longer we go, every year gets worse and worse, and all of the regulation that is overlaid on our business. And it's just requiring a lot of people, hiring more people, implementing new technologies that cost money. It's getting really, really expensive to keep up with the regulatory environment that we're having to operate under. So therein lies this whole idea of this digital infrastructure that firms like Collaborative Wealth can operate on. So
yeah, man. That's extremely impressive, and the fact that you're able to bring that experience over to the DeFi space, and kind of aim to bridge that gap, like you were saying, things are changing in the technology field all the time, and it's one of those things where you kind of have to adapt or you get left behind, so to speak. So, yeah, if you wanted to maybe or start off by introducing sort of like your ecosystem of the community and sort of how you plan on bridging your experience there from the real world into the DeFi space, and what VITREUS has to offer on the side of things there. I'm sure the community would love to hear that.
Yeah, so we've got some really primary technologies that we're building that, again, will go back to serving companies like Collaborative Wealth. Primarily, we're building a proprietary AI, artificial intelligence machine that solves a lot of the problems that I'm dealing with at Collaborative Wealth. That's our primary product, if you will. That's what we're out there. We're seeking patents in a number of ways, in formats right now. That is our proprietary product. That is our intellectual property that I don't want to reveal too much about today, but I want to provide enough context that you know kind of what we're shooting for. But I think it's better if we talk about it in terms of what the problem is, so that we know what we're trying to solve. So looking at it from our clients, our customers' standpoint, and let's look at it from my company's standpoint, why would we use VITREUS? We've got a number of problems. We've got high cost of technologies. We've got really inefficient business processes. We've got a fragmented tech stack. And we've got cybersecurity issues. Nowadays, hacking and issues on vulnerabilities of data on the internet is a big issue, especially when it comes to data like financial data related to our customers' confidentiality requirements. So those are the things we're battling as a company that we're out there trying to find solutions for. And there's just nothing that is cohesive that pulls all of these needs together into a single use platform that we can adopt. So I've been wanting to build something like this for a couple of years now. And I'm finally getting to do it. I'm very excited about it. So
yeah,
high cost.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chad. Go ahead. I'll touch back on my point after.
So high cost of technologies, and I'll just give you an idea from Collaborative Wealth standpoint. We've got 34 different technologies in our what I call our stack, and that runs us approximately $300,000 every year, no matter what. Recurring cost every single month comes out like clockwork. So we can, by implementing a platform like this to my company, we can consolidate a lot of those technologies internally into our infrastructure. and allow the companies like Collaborative Wealth to get rid of a bunch of stuff. And that's going to save a lot of money and reduce that tech stack cost. So that's one of the first things we're going to do, is drop costs for the company, for all of our companies. Anybody that comes and moves on and adopts our platform, our chain, we're going to drop their costs substantially. I've got inefficient business processes. So whereas we've got compliance and regulatory requirements where we have to oversee all the communications and the correspondences and discussions and conversations of everybody in the firm, we have to monitor that. And that's regulation. And it's a pain. And it requires a lot of people and a lot of personnel burden. We've got document storage issues right now, or we don't, but I know a lot of firms that have full closets full of filing cabinets of paper of all of their files, because they're required to hold on to all of that paper and all those files for a number of years, 6 years in our business, and some businesses are even longer. So they accumulate all this paper in closets, and they have nothing to do with it other than to let it sit there and become a burden that they have to go through at some point in the future. So as a firm, we have to do what's called an annual review, where we sit down, the whole compliance team sits down and goes through all of our processes and procedures and looks at everything and makes sure it's all still working within the regulatory environment. And it locks us down for about a month while we do our firm-based annual review. We can automate all of that with AI. We've got compliance issues with how we go about meeting with clients. Remember, we serve them on their wealth management services. So when we sit down and we meet with those clients, we have to do certain things and document and keep notes and track our conversations with those clients in a certain way. And we have to talk about certain things and present things in a certain way and prove we did do that, and then hold on to all that stuff forever. So that process is just a nightmare to manage from a manual standpoint. We can automate all of that using AI. We have to, from investments, we have to assess a client's risk on their investments and make sure that we're managing their money according to their risk profile. Meaning, if a client says, I want to be conservative with my investments, we can't go manage them aggressively. So we have to make sure that we line up what a client's risk is compared to how they're having their money managed. And that's a burdensome process. And then we have to monitor our employees and how they're trading their own accounts, meaning they can't go front run a client making trades ahead of them to be an advantage. And we have to monitor those things. But we can make that an easy process through the use of AI that knows how and what to be looking for to identify red flags and issues and pop up notifications in real time. So business processes, all of our AI that we're building is going to make our business processes for companies like Collaborative Wealth really, really easy, and should enable companies to consolidate people and personnel and employees specific to those job duties. Again, saving money. So the third thing, we've got a fragmented tech stack, meaning all those 33 technologies that I mentioned earlier, they don't talk to each other, they don't integrate, and they're not seamless. So a lot of the technologies that we're going to implement within our platform that will replace many of this tech stack, they're going to be all functionally integrated in the same platform. So maintaining cross integrity of data and always updated data is going to be significantly simpler on our platform versus a fragmented technology stack. And fourth, and I want to use this as a segue over to Tim, because Tim is our brainchild on the technology side of things. We've got a big issue with cybersecurity and vulnerabilities within our technologies that make breaches of data possible. And we're under a duty as a firm to monitor those vulnerabilities and have certain things in place that allow us to protect our clients from those vulnerabilities. So Tim,
Awesome,
if you want
man.
to talk a little bit, sorry, go ahead, Buck. Sorry.
No, I was going to say you covered off a lot of information there. When you were speaking about your data acquisition, that was one of the questions I noted down here was how you were going to cover that data security from the security standpoint. So yeah, Tim, if you want to touch on that for everyone, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Chad mentioned, there's really two major areas that we are helping these organizations solve for. We touched on the sheer Herculean task of regulations. Each sector within financial vertical, be it a consumer bank or an insurance company or an investment firm, will have their own set of regulations to abide to. But the sheer magnitude of cybersecurity and its implications, I think, is a very important topic here, because we are introducing the concept of distributed infrastructure into these centralized institutions. And this is the nature of decentralized infrastructure and the inherent advantages that it has against the threat mitigation of a typical cybersecurity landscape. So we're not susceptible, as a centralized organization would be, to just one attack entry point. We will be able to scale this enhanced blockchain as a service with our AI as needed. And as more institutions use this technology, the more powerful the compute and whatnot will become. But just the inherent immutability of a smart contract, the fact that it is not only encrypted, but our advanced storage methodologies will ensure not only can we store the respective ledger and its data in a secure manner, but ensure that it stays in compliance with like data privacy laws, or if we have an entry point or an attack pattern that's coming into a certain geography, we have intelligence within our network to understand where those attacks are coming from, mitigate those while still protecting the integrity of the chain. And that's where the separation and whatnot between the three layers really come into play. And to provide context, in order to build something like this, let's say in consumer banking, it would cost tens of millions of dollars from a capital perspective. So just buying the servers and whatnot, let alone the expertise to have the ability to operate that and make it sure it is manageable within the ongoing landscape of new threats and attacks that come out on a daily basis. This is why most cybersecurity professionals have been polled as the most stressful jobs in corporate America today. It's a fascinating polling if you want to look into that. But what we do is we're able to come into a centralized organization with centralized technologies, integrate with them in a matter of months. They can start using this technology, thusly very much able to realize the benefits of not only our artificial intelligence, but our smart contracts as well. So compliance and controlling can happen within the system without any involvement of any party and they're self-executing. Automatically source information from external data sources. So they'll be self-verifying and faster resolution from manual processes. These are very significant time to market benefits that allow an institution to focus on what they do, and taking that budget that they're spending on compliance and risk mitigation through cybersecurity. The average institution pays 5.9% just on regulation and cybersecurity, and that's against their top line revenue. So the demographics are there, the benefits are there, and the cost effectiveness return of investment is there as well. Not only have we been fortunate enough over the past week to speak to some of those institutions from an advisory perspective, they're telling us this is how they want to consume this technology, and they're very anxious to see if, in fact, distributed is as robust as it is on paper.
Yeah, good stuff, Tim.
That was
The business side
no,
is
sorry,
really,
go ahead.
that's all the business. But I think we need to talk about the coin, the crypto, and why you would even want to purchase the coin moving forward. So we see a couple of use cases for the coin. One is it's going to serve as the native currency inside of our VITREUS ecosystem. So all of our users using and paying subscription fees for all of our bundled services and everything, they'll pay for all of that within with the VITREUS coin itself. So that'll drive demand, buy side pressure. As revenues and subscription fees increase, that'll increase buy side pressure for the coin as well. So second, we've got a dual purpose use case for this coin. First is that native currency. Second is to earn income for holders of the coin, to earn income off of those businesses. So we just spent about 20-25 minutes talking about the business idea. That business is going to generate a lot of revenue. And as it generates revenue, it'll pay royalties over to coin holders who have committed their coins to a program called VIP, VITREUS Incentives Program. So if you're holding a coin, if you're holding a VITREUS coin and you commit it for a certain period of time into the VIP, you'll get paid, you'll receive income. And that's a function of something outside of the crypto world, which is really good from an insulation standpoint, meaning if the health of crypto is good or it's bad, it doesn't matter, because as long as the health of the company is good, that income will stay there. So a very, very big difference to a lot of the income coins or tokens today operating on taxes and reflections and so on and so forth. This is completely different in the fact that it's funded by business success and not just from volume being transacted within the token. So very different income type structure.
Awesome. So like I said, I was making a lot of notes before this AMA to make sure I came in nice and prepared, but you guys have already come in and done a great job of covering off a lot of the touch points I wanted to get to. And this type of innovation that you guys bring to the table, it's really something that I look forward to seeing more in the DeFi space moving forward, because there's hundreds of projects that launch every day, but having the background you guys have and the problems you're aiming to solve is what we need to see more of in this space. And just the experience you guys bring to the table is extremely impressive. I also wanted to touch on your calm demeanor and confidence in this presentation as well. You guys do a great job of really presenting what you have. You can tell you're very educated in the field, and it shows in your presentation. As far as your patents go as well, I know patent timing can fluctuate depending on what you've applied for. Is the AI part of the company part of the patent process as well? Like, is your technology being patented alongside whatever else you've applied for?
Yes, it is. The AI itself is a very innovative framework that has been developed through extensive research. The reason why we are designing a layer 3 enhanced blockchain as a service, it is a direct relation to how the AI will interact. We are very excited about how the AI will really focus on automated compliance, the ingestion of data, and put meaningful, actionable items and data in front of a user, thusly, eliminating a lot of manual processes and going and getting different data sources. But The AI is also going to be applied to smart contract logic as well, in a way that can show how like a peer-to-peer communication, or just anything that would be automated. There's something called Know Your Customer. It's a KYC. It's a very stringent compliance, and it really focuses on the identification of a party and the process of onboarding that person, and then just making sure that there is like anti-money laundering aspects into a transaction. And our AI will also be able to show all of that data through the ledger and the processes. And this is a very expensive, very global standard that is basically trillions of dollars across different countries. It doesn't matter if you're doing in euro, pounds, or US dollar. This engine is going to be able to provide that democratization, if you will, of all of those aspects. And it's really exciting because as we see other instances of artificial intelligence, the best known right now being ChatGPT, you see other institutions. Google announced they will be releasing theirs mid-summer, and Microsoft has put out a couple examples in Bing for their analysis and whatnot. So very excited about this potential as we see this adoption rate, and it gets more powerful as it learns.
Thanks for that, Tim. And yeah, I really respect how the teams approached building up to launch on this project and all the avenues you guys have covered to ensure security for your investors and for the projects you'll be dealing with, as well as protecting your own technologies as well. And in the long run, helps your sustainability just moving forward with. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people in the DeFi space that are going to try to replicate this in some sort of way. But I think the way that you guys are going about it is the way it needs to be done. And I just really like how you guys are carrying yourselves over there.
Actually, that's a really good point. Can I touch on? No, you're good. That's a really good point I hadn't thought about. I want to reinforce that as this platform is used and consumed, it will learn as each institution comes on board. So it's going to be very difficult for somebody to replicate what we're going to be creating, not just from an intellectual property perspective, but every aspect of this infrastructure is designed around its distributed nature, the inherent mitigation against cybersecurity, and the patterns, especially around data and networking. I think attacks against DNS, which is basically the technology that makes the entire internet talk to each other, right? If you go to a website, that's called domain name services, and it's unfortunate that it's been an exploit for lots of different types of attacks. And what I want this community to understand, as Chad mentioned with this coin, as this grows, this will get widespread adoption. We are already getting feedback from the RIA, consumer bank, and insurance industries on when this will be available, because they want to see it now. And we have to do our diligence. But I've seen a lot of great projects in this space, and there's a lot of siloed aspects of shared developer community, or we're dealing with some sort of AI with just blockchain, and those are great approaches, but they're not going to be able to replicate sheer power of what this AI is going to learn as it gets adopted. It will, year over year, it will not be the same level of learning as it was prior.
For elaborating on that more, because I can only imagine how hard this project would be to replicate, even just trying to take in the knowledge that you guys have there in the white paper, and just all the different aspects your entire team brings to the table. It would be extremely hard for somebody else to come across people with the same sort of expertise, combine a team together and enroll what you guys are bringing into the market, into the space. So kudos on that and everything that
it is a significant competitive competitive advantage to have our target market company as a guinea pig as we design and build this for our target market. So we'll be able to test, beta test, find gaps, fill gaps, and make this perfect before we actually take it to market. And very few companies, unless they're building this internally, which it could, be a very hefty internal expense, they're not going to be afforded that same luxury of having their target market as a guinea pig. So important piece.
And Chad, I couldn't agree more. And the thing about that is being able to beta test that and have these layers and the artificial intelligence used with the use cases and the automation. Yes, the investment space is different than consumer banking and consumer insurance, but the approach is not. And as I said earlier, they're all beholden to their own regulations, but this learning model will adapt. So when we bring collaborative wealth on board and we test all of this, it will be ready for any other financial institution that wants to use it based on that unique use case, which is a huge differentiator for us because we do not have to go out and constantly develop all these new pieces of code in order to do this. This is an integration, enhanced blockchain as a service backed by artificial intelligence that will learn through lightweight integration as these institutions use it. We will be able to onboard hundreds of institutions in a matter of months as opposed to years.
Well, 100%, guys. And that almost brings me back to how Chad kicked things off there with all the different types of problems that this technology solves in the corporate and finance world. Like for me, myself, I was a real estate agent in the Toronto area for 6 years. I invested in real estate myself. So I've had to deal with all of the accountants, tax firms, insurance carriers, the banks, the credit unions, all of those types of companies, and just dealing with those brokers and all the different types of stuff, that the different overheads and stuff that you don't normally take into account from a consumer end. Like the cutting costs is such a significant aspect to any business, to any corporation. And just even outside of that, like what would the team be looking to do, any sorts of partnerships online or offline as well, like moving forward once you're going, and maybe cover off different avenues that maybe the team doesn't have the expertise in, or had any sort of outside help from other experienced what's the word I'm looking for here? Having like other experienced people in different sectors that maybe your core team doesn't cover.
We're looking to create a couple of advisory boards. Chad, maybe you go into the advisory boards and kind of we're structuring the use cases around that expertise.
Yeah, so our advisory board, we're in the middle of constructing right now. We're running multiple interviews per week to try to find the right people and disciplines and experiences to add to the team to bring in valuable expertise in the design and implementation of what we're trying to do. So we've got a number of RIAs, registered investment advisors, who are ready to come to the table to provide input on compliance mechanisms that they want to see for their business. I just outlined some problems for my business. They're going to be likely very similar for most other RIAs or investment shops, I'll call them. We need more investment shops on the advisory board to give us their local perspective on how they run their operations. So at a local level, firms run completely different from one another. They have this universal law that they have to abide by, but then they have a local law that they've set for themselves and for their firms that they also have to abide by. Those local laws are different across the board. But we want this AI machine to accommodate those differentiated local laws, but we need the input and the expertise from other firms to sit in and help us design specifically for what they're doing, because it is different from collaborative. It's good to have collaborative, but we need more different types of collaboratives in order to maximize the effectiveness of what we're building. So we're bringing on more collaboratives to the table. We're looking for other banking officers who can bring an information or a security or compliance perspective to the table for the banking regulations side. So we're after investments, we're after banking, we're after insurance, we're after taxes. And all of those carry different regulations. So we need experts from each of those target markets to come onto the table, come around the table and help us understand what they're trying to solve. So we're going to be expanding this beyond just the investment stuff into other areas, and we'll be able to do it accurately because we have the right people on our advisory board. We're going to leverage our advisory board significantly. Regular meetings.
Good. Go ahead. Sorry, I was just going to say we're doing the same thing on the technology side. So any firms or subject matter experts that have experience in distributed compute, edge computing, AI modeling, Web3, smart contract intelligence development, we would love to hear from you. We're building out these very, I would say, prestigious is the word I would use, advisory boards for a reason, with the intention of having them peer review and drive. So it's in addition to the, as Chad outlined, the subject matter experts within each sector, we're also doing the same thing on the technical side.
We are also looking to initiate a pretty intensive venture capital effort where we're bringing capital partners for expertise as well. So we're not just looking for money from those partners, we're looking for valuable input and experience on something as easy as running a technology company all the way out to something as complicated as technology implementation. So we've got those two channels, our advisory board and our capital partners, who we intend on leveraging significantly for valuable input.
All right, and touching back on that, what sort of vetting process would you have in place for onboarding collaborations like that? Because, you know, being around the DeFi space, there's a lot of people who may say that they're an expert in a certain field, but it's kind of a more fake it until you make it type of concept, you know, and you know what I mean? So what sort of outside of the box vetting process would you have to do in that aspect before you collaborated or partnered up with somebody who has something to offer to the team?
Yeah, sure.
Well, the
so
good thing,
go ahead, Chad. Sorry. Go ahead.
The good thing, I'll just talk about the investment side and you can handle the other sides. The investment side is easy because I can spot a fake from a mile away. So I know a tenured, experienced, who's been through the ringer, who understands their compliance needs. I can identify those people from my industry. And so then leveraging that level of insight and identification for other areas like banking and insurance. I can do the same for the insurance side also. The banking, we're going to have to go through a little bit more scrutinized process and leverage some internal contacts that could come in and help us identify the right candidates as well. But as far as the guts of the board side, we know what we're looking for. Tim also, with his experience and his background, can identify a fake on the technologist's standpoint as well. So Tim, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. The diversity of this team from an experience perspective is really unique. I'm honored to be a part of it. And what we're looking for in these advisory boards is going to be very specific, right? It's going to be a skill set, and it's not really based on potential. It's going to be based on experience. So we're going to want folks who can look at a regulatory approach or an architectural approach and provide feedback that we would be seeking to, again, take that into market, whether it's a feature, a security approach, a go-to-market approach, a marketing messaging use case. All of those things apply. I mean, that doesn't mean that we want to discourage folks from reaching out, because if a high potential person reaches out and they have a place maybe in operations or in an opportunity where they could build those skill sets, that's also welcome. But we are putting together criteria for each of those domains that have very specific skill sets, and they will be very easily, they'll be matched very thoroughly. But like Chad said, buzzword bingo and fake it till you make it will be vetted fairly quickly.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for touching on that for us. I know we touched there a little bit on the VIP system, but I was kind of looking maybe to if you could share more about the NFT and the voucher system that you have structured there from an investor side of things, because that's a pretty unique concept that you've added into this. And yeah, I think the community, based off the questions I'm getting, would like to know more about how that works.
Yeah, so we've built the digital app to mint NFTs as part of our initial buy-in process, where someone who's looking to buy and invest into this company and project will actually purchase an NFT placeholder of an NFT voucher.
Perfect, thanks. And then maybe we'll transition over to like yeah, well, I was even going to touch maybe on the educational side of things, because you guys clearly do a great job of presenting the project in these AMAs and really covering a lot of information very articulately. But for say somebody who doesn't have a chance to come in and join one of these AMAs and reads the white paper, wants to invest, they put their money in, what are you going to do from like an educational standpoint there to kind of educate those people that want to learn more but maybe not, or maybe aren't getting like a full grasp on everything that Vitreus has to offer?
I caught the back end of that question. Can you restate that question?
Yeah, so I was just kind of looking more on an educational standpoint for maybe some people who don't have a chance to sit in these AMAs and get a full breakdown of everything they have to offer. Like I know you have the Acquis library there. So I don't know if you can touch a little bit more on the library and the educational side of things for people that maybe don't get a full grasp on everything that you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, so we've got a page on our website that's dedicated to all of our content. We're very heavy in the videos. I've got a video studio here at Collaborative Wealth that we shoot a lot of content out of. It's going to serve a couple purposes. One, we're going to be able to communicate on a regular basis to NFT holders who have invested in the project early on the progress of the build. So we know that this is a relatively long hold period, but we see that there's going to be some value in that. One, we can get through this compliance craziness that's going on in this space throughout this year, and hopefully get towards the end of the year when we plan on having the build complete and we can launch our coin. Hopefully we're through those compliance headaches and we've got some clarity around path to registration, just simply a definition of the asset class, and a path towards clarity on how this regulatory environment is going to look as an overlay to what we're doing specifically. So holding through this year is going to be advantageous, I think, from a compliance and a regulatory standpoint. Second, it's going to help us get to the back end of this bear type environment where things are tougher to thrive in this environment. Hopefully we've recovered and we've moved on into a bull cycle by the time we're able to launch. So from a timing standpoint, I think we're positioned pretty well to capitalize on a healthier market when it comes time to launch. So as we get there, as we move through that process towards the end of this year, we're targeting Q4 for a launch. We're going to maintain very clear communications with where we're at in the process, what milestones that we're meeting throughout the build process, and stay in very close communication to everybody who's holding an NFT voucher.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Chad. Yeah, so I guess we can move over to more of the business side of things if you wanted to touch on more of that, like maybe what sort of utilities the project has to offer to holders and maybe other projects looking to launch using your blockchain.
Yeah, great question. Our AI is our flagship utility. That's our flagship product, our flagship value proposition to companies that are going to move on to our blockchain and adopt our blockchain. So first of all, AI, and we're looking to package that up as an implementation for other firms to maintain and execute within their own organizations. Two, the blockchain itself is going to be a utility. So this is being packaged and bundled as a blockchain as a service type offering, where our users of the blockchain will choose among a number of different bundles based on whatever the needs are of their companies, and that'll be a profit center in and of itself. Three, we've got the Acquiesce and Emporium utilities, or products, as I prefer to call them. Those two products are offerings out to other users of the blockchain. Acquiesce specifically is a code module store. Taylor refers to this as the parts store. So it'll serve as prepackaged modules that freelance coders can prepare and put onto Acquiesce and offer for a licensing fee, as our users like to build their own products for anybody that wants to use them. So they're prepackaged modules, pre-built modules that are going to be available for licensing as other users choose to build their own products. And then the Emporium side is a bit of a complement to Acquiesce, and it's the app store, where we have fully built, fully packaged apps that are finance specific to the users of our blockchain that can be purchased and subscribed to for implementation within each of the user firms on the blockchain. Additionally, we've got a carve-off product that we're looking to build as well later in this year. It's called Advisor Retire, and it's a succession planning community where we'll be bringing buyers and sellers of financial businesses together to meet, to connect, to talk about best practices, and to ultimately get connected with each other as succession partners, where we can begin implementing transactions of buy-sell deals in the financial space. That's actually how I grew hyperscaled collaborative, was through acquisitions. I was out there buying retiree books of businesses and taking those client books on and absorbing them into our firm. And we did that a lot of times, and it worked really well from a hyperscaling standpoint. And that's become really big in our industry. And so we want to build this community that's Web3 based on VITREUS, powered by VITREUS, that implements smart contract functionality to walk a buyer and a seller through to finalization of an acquisition. And that's another product we want to have up and running pretty quickly, because that's a very lucrative one as well. There's a company out there called Succession Link, and I believe it's successionlink.com. I'm not sure, but they're the main player in our industry when it comes to those succession planning opportunities. They have 60,000 subscribers paying about $200 a month. So that's just our investment industry. And we can expand this out to other industries and capitalize on that space and that trend, and bring a whole new Web3 experience and a smart contract experience to that plate. We can crush that into the market as well. So that's going to be really big as an opportunity for our chain.
Wow, man, I absolutely love it. I love everything that the team's building over there. I've personally aped myself into the seed round. I listened to one of your AMAs earlier. I loved everything you guys had to say. I'll let the community know ahead of time, guys. These are the types of projects that we preach when you have teams like this, when you have a type of innovative product like this that really solves problems in the real world and bridges those gaps. These are the ones that Maurice and I are always telling you, like for a long-term hold, these are the types of people that you want to support. They have the experience, they have the business knowledge, and clearly they're working and have a solid plan in action moving forward. So as a long-term hold, guys, I recommend it. Not financial advice or anything, just so you know, I'm back in this one and I'm in it for the long haul.
I am licensed and registered to provide advice, and I highly recommend that you buy into this project. But
There you go. Coming
there,
from a Chad himself.
yeah, just to paint a little long-term picture also, and I think that's really good because you've said long-term hold, and I think in terms of just strategy, you got your short-term holds, you got your trading holds, but you should also have a piece of your portfolio in long-term positions and things that are positioned to capitalize and create trends within certain industries that are just longer plays. And especially if they're creating an income environment where you can maintain it in a passive fashion and reap those types of benefits too. And that makes real estate pop up into my mind because real estate investment trusts, REITs, are a really big industry, and tokenization of real estate, and this goes back to one of your questions, tokenization of real estate, I think, is going to be a big opportunity for our blockchain because we can bring those tokenization opportunities to our blockchain, bring real estate assets to our blockchain, package them up, create the world's first digital REIT, and take it to all of our investment shops using our blockchain. So we have massive opportunity in distribution of products also as we can package these things up in a new way that's never been seen before and take advantage of the breadth of our user base on our blockchain and then distribute those products out into the retail market as well. So that's kind of a long-term vision type thing, but there's endless possibilities to maximize potential for this type of an ecosystem.
Chad, if I can add to that, a lot of this market that he's describing are small businesses, over 50% if memory serves. And a traditional bank that runs on a legacy system will have very cumbersome onboarding processes, lengthy documentation, multi-step verifications. DeFi here, distributed infrastructure, this blockchain will accelerate adoption of all these traditional banking systems and help build the processes and match the agility for small businesses. So this is truly what decentralized is meant to do. Is we're not trying to say, oh, we're going up against the system, but we're also giving a fair advantage to these mid-market small businesses that will take advantage of this ecosystem and be able to do what Chad just described as far as digital assets in either a smart contract or on a ledger. And that is a very significant advantage, not just for us, but for them, as the larger institutions are already kind of going down this path. The mid-market and smaller businesses are trying to figure out how to use it, but they represent the largest part of the market opportunity.
And I couldn't agree more. And that kind of Chad kind of jumped on my next transition point there into the real estate aspect. But that's great, man. I'm glad you knew where I was going with that one, and I appreciate you touching on that. So I've also had a couple questions here from the community about the roadmap leading up to Q4 and your launch, because you're currently in your seed round now, and you have 2 more pre-sales that are scheduled to come up before you go launch. So what's the benefit to an investor now for jumping into the seed round opposed to maybe waiting for one of those pre-sales? And how do you plan on structuring those pre-sales? Is it going to be done in a whitelist sense, or is it going to be another sort of open public display, or are you going to go the fair launch route and try to raise the maximum you can from those?
Yeah, great question, and I think good topic for clarity. The simple answer is this is as cheap as it's going to get. The price is going to go up every round that we do a capital raise moving forward. We're at 2 cents right now in the pre-sale. We're going to close pre-sale, and we have enough to begin build right now. We're moving forward. We're doing just fine. We've set crazy goals in this environment for us from a capital raise standpoint, but we have enough to begin our build and make it almost, if not all the way through on our minimum viable product. Tim and I have been doing a lot of analysis on what that MVP looks like and what it's going to cost to get to the finish line there. So, and we feel very comfortable that with what we have available now and what we know is coming, we can move forward very comfortably. So this train is moving forward, but we're going to also move into a VC round where we're going to be meeting from an equity side with various venture capital funds Initially, we're going to be targeting seed investors, ultimately transitioning to A-series investors. All those A-series investors, they like to see revenue going before they're willing to sit down and get interested in moving forward. So we've got the A-series on the back burner. We're going to target the seed VC now. Also, around May timeframe, maybe beginning of June timeframe, we're going to open up with a higher price a pre-sale 1 round. And we're going to issue another set of coins or NFTs available for purchase at that point. And at that point, we're going to have a lot of the build underway, and we're going to have a lot of communication and additional community built at that point also. And we're confident that we'll be positioned to take in another round of fund flow. That'll be, again, May, June timeframe, somewhere in there. And then we'll close. That'll be 3 cents as planned now. We'll close it and then move forward, continue build, and get to pre-sale 4, where we ideally will have a completed ecosystem ready to roll out. And at that point, we expect very high demand and a very quick fill in a fair launch way. To answer your question, we don't want to do any whitelist sales. We just want to open it up and let anybody purchase who's interested. And then when it's filled, it's closed. So we'll do that pre-sale 2 around September timeframe, I'm thinking. And then we'll be ready, hopefully, to be beta testing our blockchain and launch our coin straight to blockchain in a completed ecosystem environment, which is pretty unheard of, and be up and running.
Yep. No, I completely agree. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that, because that was actually something I was kind of wondering as well, how that breakdown would look. But I think that's the best way to do it. It's the most fair way to do it, and I think it's going to be successful. So again, always impressed with everything you guys bring to the table there and how much planning you've done ahead of time. I think we've covered quite a bit up to Q4 when you're going to be going live with your coin. What can investors expect after Q4 when you go live? Well, what would be your main focus moving forward?
Yeah, so one of the big
for
things
onboarding.
is how are we going to combat? Are you going to lock these coins up? What's the vesting period? How are you going to combat a massive dump? All really good questions, and we've met and we've strategized as a team to figure out how we want to do this. We believe in fair markets, right? So I think we can do it in a way that presents enough value, meaning when we deliver a final ecosystem and you have your coin ready to go and it's launched onto the ecosystem, done and finished, you're not running on hype. And if there's a legit material, tangible asset base there, utility base there, I think it's a different scenario. That's first. But second, we're going to overlay a laddered incentive program for investors or NFT holders to commit their NFTs for an APR return for a term. And we can ladder these terms out to mature at different points beyond the launch of the coin. And as long as we don't have everything stacked where everybody gets all their coins and we have massive risk around a dump, as long as it's staggered, laddered, and that risk is spread out, I think the impact on LP is going to be minimal, and we're able to do so without restricting people's ability to make decisions on their holdings. So we've put a lot of time and effort and conversation into strategizing around how we wanted to do that, and I think an incentive program that's spread out and that's laddered, I think that's going to work the best.